it's funny how when people are doing their taxes, the subject of maybe buying a home comes up a lot more often than we could probably think of. And having one of my loan officers on site was, I think, a benefit to both of us. We would get the pre-approval, get them qualified. And if we couldn't, the loan officer would be able to tell them, look, this is what you have to do, or this is what you have to, work on in order to get pre-approved.
Welcome to The Growth Mindset, the podcast for ambitious real estate and mortgage professionals. Hosted by Adam Crosley and Rick Riddle, this show dives into entrepreneurial strategies, sales techniques, and mindset hacks designed to fuel your career growth. Get ready to learn from top producers, gain actionable insights, and start your journey towards success. Here's your hosts, Adam and Rick.
All right, thank you, Eric, for that great intro. I love listening to Eric's intro. It always pumps me up. This is a new episode of the Growth Mindset podcast. I'm Rick Riddle with my co-host
Adam Crosley,
and we have a new a guest today. We're excited, Johann Cuadros from Crown Home Mortgage. Welcome, Johann.
Thank you very much for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Yeah, so we know Johann and I have worked together. This is now our third company together. We've been basically working together for 20 years, I think. So really excited to have you on. I'd love to hear your story and what you do. Obviously this is a podcast geared towards all sales, but mostly mortgage people and real estate. And, I thought that, and I know you have a lot of relationships with realtors, but you do a lot. You have a different approach that I think is interesting to share. And, as as listeners know, we started a couple weeks ago, quote of the day, inspired by our sponsor, not really our sponsor, but my book, Use the Ladder, right? So it's a shameless plug to promote the book at usetheladderbook.com, where you can order a book, which is basically 16 quotes of wisdom that helped me and will hopefully help you dominate sales, so specifically mortgage sales. So today's quote of the day is, whoever has the lead has the power, right? And that was actually from Jim Weichert, who Johann and I worked at. Jim Weichert's a real estate mogul, owns a lot of real estate companies, has a whole family of companies, started in New Jersey, but basically nationally, but a lot of it is in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. So Jim, Johann and I kind of cut our teeth there. And Jim said to us, whoever has the lead has the power. If the realtor has the lead, I remember Jim used to say, you know what I do? Till my lips are blue, and when I'm done, I keep on. Right. So I thought that was, a great way. And it's how, Johann and I learned really to build realtor relationships is till our lips are blue, right? And what I mean, like kissing their ass. I don't mean kissing.
That's right. Of course.
But what Johann did is an interesting story. Is he gets the lead before they go to the realtor, and then he's able to provide lead generation to them. So, maybe we could talk a little bit about that. So. Adam, I'll let you lead the way with some questioning, because I feel like I'm dominating the conversation like I always do.
That's right. Well, Johann for 20 years, so that's all right. So yeah, Johann, you do it differently than most lenders out there. Most lenders are going out to the agents, trying to build relationships and trying to get deals from them. One of the things I love about your business, brother, is how you give first. So I guess the big question that most of the listeners have is, how do you get the leads so that you can give them out? And I think, I'd like to hear this because I know you have such a unique approach. So tell me a little bit about how you do that, and I guess we'll go from there.
Sure, guys. Obviously, yes, it's true. Whoever has a lead has the power. You have more leverage, obviously, when you have a lead to give to an agent. And actually, I won't take full credit for it. One of the loan officers that used to work in my branch, once I heard him on the phone with an agent, and he seemed to be pretty harsh and stern with them on the phone. And I kind of asked him, I said, aren't you a little concerned talking to your agent that way? This is probably maybe like 4 or 5 years back. And he said, no. I'm like, well, aren't you concerned that you might not get a future referral because of the way your tone is with them? And they said, absolutely not. That's my lead. I said, oh, okay, interesting. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I'm like, so let me ask you, how are you going about getting this lead? And he said, well, I work with a lot of financial planners, accountants, and CPAs. And, they also have customers that have needs for mortgages. And the light bulb went off. I'm like, why not try to go that way? So I did. I started reaching out to, starting with my own tax person. I went out to them, and it just so happens that they did have a lot of leads. And we were able to kind of like work in a capacity where when we had customers at the branch that needed some guidance on taxes and questions, we would certainly refer them to them, and they would also refer them to us. I think the biggest difference there is when we got a lead from that accountant, they were usually not working with an agent. So it would enable us to kind of say, hey, Mr. Agent, I have a lead that's looking to purchase in so-and-so area. They're already pre-approved. And you can either, one, like solidify your relationship with an agent you have, or try to build a new one with it. We try to do a little bit of both. Obviously, we want to support the people that are supporting us as well. But at the same time, especially if it's not in your database of agents that you work, if it's not in their market area, it would allow you to maybe do some research, look up a local agent that might be a specialist in that area, and kind of refer that business that way. That's one of the ways I think we were able to bring up leads. During different times, a lot of times customers do kind of come back past customers, and sometimes they'll call the lending person asking, hey, I'm looking to refinance, or I'm looking to buy that second home, or I'm looking to do a cash out refinance. So we will in turn take that same lead and give it back to the person that referred it back to us. So the agent was kind of like not aware that this person was looking to buy. And it's a nice surprise for them to say, hey, thanks. The last lead I sent you, you kind of revived it and brought it right back to me, creating another sale for that same agent as well. And business owners, I think we sometimes take for granted a local community where you normally go have coffee every day, or whether, it's a gas station you visit every single day and the attendant, or whether it's a local pub and the owner or the hostess or the bartender. You sit there in conversation. A lot of times those people, they come across a lot of folks that also may be looking to either save money, refinance, or just are interested in learning to buy. So getting those leads, you can always turn back and give them to the agent for, hopefully another transaction that would lead to obviously more, dollars being generated to their bottom line. Those are, I would say, the three main ways that I try to pick up leads that I can give back to the associates. And, hopefully it's something that they keep in mind, that when they refer to our branch, if there's something that's going to come of it, they're going to get it right back. And if we do come across a lead, that we also have the ability to share leads with them as well.
I love that you're able to give back like that, because, from an agent's perspective, the agent is usually the giver of the lead. And when you can control the lead, you can control the power. It's a wild story about that LO that used to be in your branch, but it's awesome that, it's worked out and you built a whole business around it.
It's funny, just hearing it funny.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about. We won't mention the person on the call, but I think I know exactly who you're talking about, which is kind of funny. So it's interesting, right? Like I want to dig a little bit deeper on the accountants, right? So you have a network of accountants, right? Some I think you've had some actually you've shared space with. You've had some that work for you. You've had some that are business development people that are literally at the tax preparer's office helping, filling out 1003s and getting pre-approved. Is that how did you do that?
So when I went back to my original tax preparer, he's an entrepreneur. He likes to do all different types. He does things like credit repair. He'll help you. He actually has a system called Pathway Home, in which he normally, he was partnered up previously with another lender, and he would kind of get the numbers, like what does this customer need to earn this year or next year or both years to be able to qualify for a home. So he had a whole bunch of leads just incubated there. And, in conversation, it's like, maybe you guys could figure out a way to, partner up with me, and we can both kind of, work. If you're, whether it's your wife or spouse, or whether your employee wants to maybe work to a capacity where they can help us by, maybe taking names and phone numbers, getting a little bit of information, and kind of qualifying those leads and seeing if they're able to buy or not. We could actually partner up and maybe make some kind of agreement where hey, we're here to help one another. At the same time, in my office, I kind of direct the loan officer assistants. If someone does need assistance with their tax preparation or have questions on taxes, that we would take the information and also pass it along to them. And they do. They take the information. They also help us build more business when they come across another customer that maybe might have been with a different firm. If they don't work with that firm, sometimes they do, bring customers that were with a different accountant, and they will get the information from me and say, hey, maybe you can work with this person, or call them as well and see if you can get some business from them or refer business back and forth as well. So I do appreciate them. Obviously, also passing my name along, not just with their firm, but with other tax preparers and stuff like that.
It's interesting, right? I think about, we've all been in the business a long time, right? And I think about, the old school way, right? A customer wanted to buy a house. They maybe either looked in a newspaper, but they normally walked in to the local real estate office and said, I want to look at houses, right? There's kind of, I'm dating myself, but probably before the internet, or really being, before the power of the internet, right? And they would go in, and that realtor would really say the first question, are you pre-approved? And usually they were not back then. And they would go, and the realtor would introduce them to the loan, right? Before I show you houses, let's see what you qualify for, right? And now I think more and more customers they solve the math problem before they go look at the house.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're starting to see a trend of more and more customers coming into a real estate office pre-approved. Right. So now that relationship with the realtor is less powerful because the customer's already been pre-approved. So the realtor doesn't have as much power in giving us the opportunity. Now we've got to come up with ways to get the opportunity first. And I think dealing with, accountants is what a great way, especially I know your market is mostly first-time home buyers. Many of them are first generation, right? They're first generation
Yes.
Americans. So they're going to tax preparers just to make sure they're doing their taxes right. So a lot of people are going in before they own a home, even if they're a simple W-2, the employee, they're going to the tax preparer. What a great opportunity to kind of get in front of that lead curve before they own a home. And obviously, the dream, the three of us will all agree, and probably every listener on this agrees that wealth is built on home ownership. So what a great next step. And if you can get to them ahead of time, and using the accountant or partnering with an accountant is awesome. I think it's a great story.
And talk about a great referral too, right? Like, I mean, if your accountant is referring you to the client, like you listen to your accountant, right? I mean, like you the realtor you just met. So and the realtor, and you usually listen to who the realtor refers, but man, I got to think you're always going to listen to what your accountant says. Like I hold my accountant's advice in a very high regard. So I got to imagine that these people, especially if they're first generation Americans, are like, yes, sir, call Johann.
And that's actually 100% true. One of the CPAs that I work with, his wife actually does work with us, and she's a loan officer. But before she became a loan officer with us, their clients would not make a move unless they spoke with them.
Yeah.
Like, let me check with them first before I answer any questions, before whether it's figuring out down payment, you want to put less, put more, whether you want to do an FHA loan, a conventional loan, but they wouldn't do anything. So, to what you're saying, they always hold that, I guess, advice from the accountant in really high regards to before they're making a move.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of the movie The Godfather. Like, they don't really make a move until they talk to Tom, or the guy Tom, the consigliere. It's like they have the accountant in the background being like, yeah, you can do this, or no, you can't. Right? It's let me talk to my lawyer or my accountant. So, and then so I think that's so powerful. I know that you've done a lot of business. I think last year we were during tax time, you had like people sitting, loan officers sitting in a tax preparer's office, and you're doing 6-7 pre-approvals a day.
Yes, it was during the tax season time. It's always good to connect with them, and not just connect with them, but also kind of like help them. It's funny how when people are doing their taxes, the the subject of maybe buying a home comes up a lot more often than we could probably think of. And having one of my loan officers on site was, I think, a benefit to both of us. We would get the pre-approval, get them qualified. And if we couldn't, the loan officer would be able to tell them, look, this is what you have to do, or this is what you have to, I guess, work on in order to get pre-approved. Once that season was over, it was great because we had active leads that we can kind of work with and, kind of distribute or work with and, close out hopefully.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's I was really excited to have you on because I think your business plan is simple, but it's unique, right? And it's, I think the other thing that one thing that for the listeners, and I'll give a plug, Johann, please give your contact information. Johann is actually a non-producing manager. He has a team of LOs that he helps them build their business, right? So you actually strategically work with them in their communities to work with accountants. So a shameless plug for Johann. If you are looking to grow your business or build, you can obviously do that on your own with some of these tips. But if you need help, definitely reach out to Johann and maybe join his team because he has a lot of opportunities to help you and strategies grow. Before I get in the next segment, what I want to talk to you about, but give them your email, contact information. I know it's going to be in the link below.
Sure. My cell phone number, if you want to reach out to me or text me, call me, is 201-650-5247. And if you want to shoot me an email, it's at Cuadros with a C, Cuadros @crownhm.com.
That's awesome. So the next thing I want to talk, like the other piece of the pie or puzzle, is that I have never met a better networker in a community. Like you are you're your own BNI Chamber of Commerce, maybe because you're very social and you go out 7 days a week, but you really do a great job of building community and supporting your local community, and then literally, I can't think of the right word, but almost like handing it off, right? You're just connecting dots. You're a connector when I think of you. And maybe talk about obviously Dover, New Jersey, where you kind of started your home base, but now I know you're in a lot of other market areas. You've expanded it. Maybe tell a little bit of how you dominated Dover, but then how you took that and went into areas that are not near Dover, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I did start with Weicker Financial Services in the early 2000s. And, the internet already existed, but, all these things just weren't available. These links and these click on this to get pre-approved. They didn't exist back then. So, still the agent would, if anyone's familiar with Weicker Realtors, you would have an in-house person, they'd bring a customer in and you would try to get the pre-approval done. So you had a handoff from there. In the Dover community, which is right next to Randolph, there was a big need for a Spanish-speaking loan officer. And in those years, we were so limited, hard to come across. I had a lot of opportunity to meet with people from Remax, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, all because of the language barrier. So that allowed me to really kind of build, a network of agents outside of the Weicker Realtors family. And, as time progressed, I always like to do kind of happy hours to link all these people together. Kind of they can get to see each other, see how we all work together. But more importantly, just to kind of show that, I'll work with the community. I'll bring them all together. You never know who you're going to be working with next. And kind of even share ideas. Everyone has different ways of doing things. And I think that bringing people together to share those ideas is always a positive because someone can learn something from one another and, lead to maybe either them doing more business or things different that would eventually lead to doing more business.
That's the power of the mastermind. I love that. If you can bring more people into the room, it's like 1 + 1 is 3.
Well, not to mention that they're also fun to do. I like to network. As much as we try to do non-work things at an event, we always end up talking about work anyway. So,
yeah.
But it is nice to meet different people. I always ask friends or colleagues to, hey, bring a friend. I'd like to meet more people so that I can expand my network as well. And I always bring people as well, and I introduce everybody together. I think we're just one big network. I'm here to help people, and I hope to, be able to bring others together to see if maybe we can just brainstorm and just see how everyone is kind of like operating, what they're going through, and how we can help one another. I mean, we're all in the same business, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, we're still in the sales business, and we're still in the business of trying to get people into homes and, figuring out what their best path is.
And if you're calling people too to get all these, little get-togethers together, even if they can make it or not, it's like showing them that you care about them, whether they can make it to the event or not. And I'm sure it's got to be a lot more touch points.
Yeah, I mean, we try to do well. I on a personal level try to do different events, from a happy hour to a wine and sip to let's go bowling to
Nice.
a breakfast to a lunch. I try to do them around different times throughout the day or evening or even weekends, to allow people that have maybe not the ability to come in the evening. Well, here's the lunch, you can come. If you can't do a lunch, maybe we can do the weekends. But it enables everyone to be able to participate in any one of the events that I may host for networking.
Awesome.
You've also it's an old art, but you do a lot of first-time homebuyer events or homebuyer seminars. And I see on social media, I mean, you're packing the room. Like, I'll see 10 to 20 to 30 customers there. Well, any tips on any best practices that have gotten it? I mean, I see major attendance. I mean, the last time I did one, like 4 people showed up. Like, what do you do? Is it how do you market that?
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to my partners. Some of the partners that I work with are very well engaged with social media. So as much as I like to take the credit, I like to just really make sure that I'm supporting them in any way, shape, or form. Like when we're doing an event, I ask my entire team, can you please share this post on social media? And we do the same for one another. So if it's me with one of my partners doing a first-time home buyers, I have the entire team share it to try to get more reach. Consistency of sharing that post several times until the day of the event. But I will say I have to give credit to a lot of my partners. They do a lot of the legwork, and I do support them in any way, shape, or form, whether it's boosting ads or just continuously, sharing these links, for people to register and maybe keeping count. I don't have any secret formula. I would say, like I said, I have to give a lot of credit to the people that do put them on. But the one thing I can tell you is you have to support it with your entire heart, and you have to support it, every day until the event, because sharing it once is not going to cut it. Yeah. You have to be consistent with this up until the day of the event, even including calling, past customers, pre-approved customers, and say, hey, by the way, I'm having a first-time home buyer. I know you haven't been to one. One of your agents is doing it. Come by and, visit and see what it's like. Maybe you can see and hear other questions from other first-time home buyers that you might have not thought of. I think is a good way for them to come in and maybe explore what others are also going through and thinking when trying to buy a house for the first time.
There's a lot on people's mind when they're doing that, right? I mean, so I'm sure a lot of first-time home buyers have a lot of fear. So having those events to, demystify the process has got to be awesome.
Yeah, I think today with social media, with all the things the myths that come around, like with programs, and as crazy as it may seem, there's still some people out there that think you need 20% down to buy a home and you need perfect credit, and they are just not aware.
The other thing I think that one thing that is a best practice that you do, and that you said that I don't think enough people do, is a lot of people think of home buyer seminars purely as a lead generation, meaning inviting people they don't know. But you just said, what you said that I thought was kind of magical is you invite people that are already pre-approved and looking, right? So it's helping your people that you do know. Oh, why would I send them? I already have them pre-approved. But you're sending them in to help get them off the fence. But more importantly, now that's activity, right? And if you were doing a home buyer seminar and you had a room of that fits 30 people in there, and 3 people show up, and let's say you're a customer, do you think it's a great time to buy? The room is completely empty. Yeah. But if you had a room that had I'll say the numbers. Let's say you had a room that fit 100, and you had 30 people show up, so 70% of the room is empty. Do you think it's a good time to buy? Right? Like you're in a 70% empty room. But if you had the same 30 people come into a room that only had like 18 chairs, now you think like, oh my gosh, they only thought 18 people were like. It actually creates more buzz, right? Creates more excitement because they're like, man, I got to buy. Like, oh, look, all these people looking to buy. There's 18 people here. You know what I mean? Like, it's standing room only. And I think that by you inviting your customers, number one, I think is important. The other thing that you do, that every event that you're at, you have a team of what, 5 LOs, 2 operational, an LOA, right? Your whole
Right.
posse comes with you, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
right? Like the LOAs come, the loan officers come, the processors come. I think your mom comes sometimes. Like you literally, but
Gotta get that support from mom,
that's right. But that energy and that excitement follows,
Yeah.
right? When you're bringing a posse of 6 or 7 people, right? It's not, it's probably a lot easier for, one of your shyer, loan originators or new ones into the business that may not know what to say or do, starts to see what other people do. And, like I've talked to some of your people and they all use it. They've all gotten opportunities out of those things. So plus it makes it easier, right? So if, I'll change the names to protect the innocent, but let's say, Joe Moo. No, I'm just kidding. We have a guy that has a very similar name. But let's say he says, I only have 2 people pre-approved. If I were to do a home buyer seminar, I only have 2 people come. That's not very impressive. But if he brings 2 people to something that already has 40 people come, he's feeling better. His people are feeling better. So I think that you do a great job with that. Is that all inclusiveness? And I think that that's important to our listeners, right? If you're a new loan officer, or you have a loan officer that maybe only has a hand of people, combine it with a colleague, combine it with someone in your branch. Heck, you could even combine it with a competitor. I don't think, like as long as you guys don't step on toes, you bring your people, they bring their people. It's okay, right? Because the goal is to get more business.
Yeah, I do that mainly. I bring as you say, my entourage, my posse. I bring them for 2 reasons. One, I like them to feel as part of a team, that, to learn how to kind of work well with one another. There's enough space and room for everybody. And, they can kind of see how I interact with other agents. I show them, it's, about getting to know them sometimes, not just about the business. The other that's very important is if I'm doing a home buyer seminar, I'm partnering up with an agent and there's 30 people in that room. And I have 3 or 4 loan officers that are coming to support that. Well, great. They'll be able to work with those customers a lot faster if I've just brought one.
Yeah.
Right. The reality is people want immediate attention. And I've seen before with you just one person, like, oh, okay, I'll set up an appointment. I'll call you later. Sometimes, you don't get to them quick enough and you don't end up talking to that customer. So if I bring 3 or 4 LOs with me, it's great. They can each they'll be able to get through those people a lot faster and share the information that they need to and kind of create that database. And it's a lot easier for 4 to handle 5 people than 1 person to handle 20 people.
Yeah.
I love that.
I've actually seen pictures on social media of like you had like your 3 or 4 loan officers lined up with their laptops open, and people are just sitting down taking pre-approvals at a home buyer seminar. Which, how great is that? I mean, most home buyer seminars end. They hand their business card out. Maybe they schedule an appointment to meet next week. You literally had people getting pre-approved right then and there on the spot. With and it's a lot easier with 4 people kind of lined up in 4 corners of the room talking, with that customer versus 1 at a time lined up because they're not going to wait, Well,
having the bandwidth to do that, I mean, you could set the expectation at the event that you could get a pre-approved tonight, make an offer on a home later this evening.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give my business partners a lot of credit because they also do ask and allow me to kind of maybe drive that section of it, like the pre-approval part, like, who do you want to talk? Who can talk about this? And I do allow each loan officer to take part in explaining the home buyer process. Like I have one LO talk about non-QM loans. I have the other one talk about FHA loans. I have another one talk about the DSCR loans. So they each get a role in talking with the crowd. And at the same time, they all can kind of share their knowledge, and everyone at that seminar kind of feels comfortable interacting with them. They're not quiet in the back. They're a part of the process. And I am thankful to the partners that allow us to also take part of that process as well and kind of let me navigate that part. Allow me to kind of dictate, we'll let, Joe do this and Sam do this and Cindy do the other part. So again, that's a lot of credit to the business partners that I do work with. I think the relationship and the trust that we have, that we built over time, they're comfortable with letting me do that part of it.
That's awesome, by the way. I'll be honest. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think I know a single manager that in any company that basically has, goes on the side and has all 4 of his LOs participate in their own, in your home buyer seminar to help your people get business. I think that's fantastic. There's another quote that I'm going to, I think Adam and I think we brought it up last call, or last podcast is, if you help them get what they want, you will get what you want, right? Is that the Zig Ziglar, I think, is that the quote, Adam?
I think so.
You are the epitome of that. If you help them get what they want, whether it's the realtor, the financial planner, the accountant, the customer, the baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker, you're going to get what you want, right? So I think you do a great job of that. So
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Johann, thank you so much for carving out the time to chat with Rick and I today, dude. It was great to take a deep dive into what you're doing, and thank you for sharing it here with our listeners. Absolutely awesome. I love some of your strategies. You just kind of approach it totally different than most of the people that are, in the business today. And the thing that I love is that you're able to give and you're able to help everybody around you. And dude, it's just an honor to be working alongside you and to know you. So thank you again so much, brother.
Thank you guys for having me on. It is also a pleasure to work for the organization where I'm at. What I like about our organization is I think we're individuals like-minded. We're all about support from the lowest level to the highest level. It's all about support. And I've kind of embedded that same mentality into my LOs. Like we're just here to support. And if you have that same mindset with your business partners, with your customers, with other activities, such as prospecting and following up, all the pieces will fall into place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And then look, we all have the growth mindset. That's kind of the name of the podcast, right? Again, this is thank you guys all for listening to the growth mindset. Before we go and we let Eric do the outro and all the legalese stuff that's so important so we don't get thrown in jail. Obviously, we don't use this as a recruiting tool. This is really meant to be educational. But I will tell you, I'm sure, Johann, if our listeners reach out just to brainstorm questions, you can help them with some ideas. A lot of them are listening all across the country and not in your particular market area. But also, if you are looking for an opportunity, I would definitely reach out to Johann. He does a lot of helps customers, helps loan officers succeed in many ways other managers don't. And I think it's a lot of it's because you're a non-producing manager and you really help them get what they want. So
absolutely.
Johann, can you give real quick your phone number again, just in case people jumped on the podcast late?
Cell phone number is 201-650-5247. And if you need my email again, it's jcuadros@crownhm.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Again, this podcast has ended. Go in peace. Eric, take it away.
You've been listening to The Growth Mindset, hosted by Adam Crosley and Rick Riddle. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your colleagues. Stay tuned for more actionable insights to fuel your career success. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily reflect the official policies, positions, or opinions of Absolute Home Mortgage Corporation or Crown Home Mortgage. The content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice or an official endorsement by either organization.